Tonight's top story, according to a recent poll, you and I do not have confidence in our government to protect us from a lone wolf terrorist attack. So we are arming ourselves in very large numbers. Good evening and welcome to 630 Point of View. I'm Chris Berg. Thanks so much for joining us. A recent ABC News Washington Post poll shows for the first time in 20 years, more than a majority of Americans oppose banning assault weapons. The reason we're seeing this is because more and more people are scared that the government simply does not know what they're doing when it comes to their job of protecting you and I, American citizens. Specifically, they're not protecting us from a lone wolf terrorist attack. The same poll also shows that 77% of Americans right now are skeptical of the government's ability to protect you and I from a lone wolf terrorist attack. And let me remind you about something we talked about this last week. A recent Gallup poll shows that 16% of Americans now say that the number one most important problem facing America today is terrorism. So we've got more and more people supporting our ability to obtain assault weapons, and more people also are feeling, hey, if we're going to go out there and protect ourselves against lone wolf attacks, the best way to do that is obviously to arm yourself. With us now to analyze these poll results and much more, the president of Crime Prevention and Research Center and also a world-recognized expert on guns and crimes, Dr. John Lott. Dr. Lott, thanks so much for joining us, sir. Your quick takeaway from these poll results.
Well, I think Americans are right. It's understandable that terrorism is the most important issue in their mind, but more importantly is how they feel we should deal with it. And the thing to recognize is the huge strategic advantage that terrorists have. They determine the time and place to go and do the attack. I think police are extremely important, but police have an extremely difficult job in stopping these types of terrorist attacks. You put a couple of uniformed police officers in front of a building or in some other possible target. Terrorists can either kill the officers first. I mean, they stand out there in uniform. They're very vulnerable targets. Wait for the officers to leave, or they can go and pick some other target. It's simply impossible for uniformed police to protect all possible targets. The advantage of having people with concealed handgun permits is that the terrorists don't know who they have to try to take out first, whether it's the person in front or behind or the side. And it takes away the strategic advantage that the terrorists have.
I think one of the things that really jumped out to me in the poll was obviously Republicans are saying, hey, let's arm more people. Democrats are saying we need more gun control. Independents also supported more assault weapons, at least our ability or access to those. But I want to go to the opposite end of the spectrum here and get your take on this. You look at what Japan does. They make it very difficult to obtain a gun. They've got extreme background checks. You've got to go out there and get training. Just to give you an example here, according to The Atlantic, in 2008, the U.S. had over 12,000 homicide deaths. 587 of those were just completely accidental discharge deaths from guns, where also in Japan, they had only 11 homicides in 2008. Are they doing a better job of managing gun homicides than America?
Well, I mean, Japan's always had an extremely low homicide rate, well before they had the types of gun regulations that you're talking about. You know, the same with Britain. People often will go and say, look at the UK. They have relatively low homicide rate, about a third what we have here in the United States. Strict gun control. So the claim is it must be because of strict gun control that they have the low homicide rate. In fact, they had an even lower homicide rate relative to the United States before they banned handguns, for example, in January '97. In the 8 years after the handgun ban went into effect, the UK's homicide rate rose by about 50%. Every place in the world that's tried to ban either all guns or all handguns has seen an increase, often huge increases in murder rates. And, it's just not Washington, D.C. and Chicago where we've tried to have bans on handguns. Even in island nations like Jamaica or Ireland or the UK, where they don't have to worry about having some neighbor supplying guns, well-defined, easily defendable borders, you still find that murder rates and firearm murder rates in particular rise after gun bans have gone into place. And there's a simple reason for that, and that is when you impose the strict gun control regulations, it's the most law-abiding, good citizens who obey it, not the criminals. And to the extent that you disarm law-abiding citizens relative to criminals, you actually make it easier for crimes to occur. There are lots of reasons why crime rates vary across countries. The UK, for example, before they had any gun control in 1920, they would have, in London, a city of 2 million people, would have 2 gun murders in a year. No gun regulations, gun ownership extremely widespread, and yet 2 gun murders in a whole year.
So let's look at that.
5. So I'm just saying there are lots of reasons why it varies, but every place that we have crime data both before and after a ban has seen an increase in murder rates.
Well, then let's look at the U.S. specifically, because I know a lot of people said, hey, most of these attacks are taking place in gun-free zones and whatnot. But again, you compare us to Japan. What is happening in our nation? I continue to say it's a heart condition. I want to get your thoughts. What's happening in our nation? We've got roughly 5% of the U.S. population, yet 31% of the world's mass shootings occur in the United States. That's what NBC News says. I've got the document right here.
I know, but the thing is, the person who put that together has refused to release his data, won't show anybody how he's actually counted the cases that are there. You can't rely on something where somebody refuses to list the cases that he's used. If you go to our website at crimeresearch.org, you can see the detailed data that we put together from 2000 on. And what you find is that just comparing the United States to Europe, for example, the United States ranks 9th in terms of the rate of mass public shootings. And, you look at the worst mass public shootings, several of the worst ones have occurred in Europe. The French attack that occurred on November 13th, you had 130 people killed, over 360 people wounded. You look at the Norway attack from 2011, just the deaths from firearms. You had 67 people killed, 110 wounded. 3 of the 4 worst K through 12 school shootings have occurred in Europe. 2 of those have occurred in Germany since 2000. Europe as a whole has mass public shooting rates similar to what we have here in the United States. And Africa and parts of Asia have much, much worse mass public shootings than we have here in the United States.
Mr. Lyon, just for time's sake, I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Let's say you're king for a day in the United States. What would you do then to obviously lower the gun deaths here in America?
But if you want to talk about mass public shootings, you want to talk about gun deaths generally. I mean, I think with regard to gun deaths, the thing you have to realize is the vast majority of those are drug gang related. You have 75% of the murders in the United States take place in 3% of the counties. And if you're in a major urban area and you see a murder map, you're going to see the vast majority of those murders take place in tiny areas within those counties. It's either directly or indirectly related to drug gangs. What you have to deal with then is, how do you stop the drug gang problem? One possibility is to go and legalize drugs. I mean, there's cost to that. More people are going to use drugs, and there are severe problems with that. But just as when we ended prohibition, the murder rate in the United States fell by over 60% in 2 years. And so there's trade-offs that you have to make there. If you're talking about mass public shootings, which are a completely different animal there, the big thing you have to notice is that, as you mentioned, with just 2 exceptions, every single one of the mass public shootings in the United States since 1950, and all the ones in Europe, have taken place where guns are banned. These killers consciously and explicitly, time after time, talk about picking their targets based upon victims not being able to go and defend themselves. They want to kill as many people as possible, and they know if they can pick some place where victims can't defend themselves, that nobody has a gun, they're going to be able to kill a lot more people than they would have otherwise.
Dr. John Lott, thank you so much for your time, sir. I appreciate it. I'd love to have you back on. You mentioned about legalizing drugs. We see obviously what's happening with opiate drugs through pharma as well. A lot of deaths going on there too. So, Mr. Lott, thank you for your time. I appreciate it very, very much, sir.
Thank you. And people can find more at our website at crimeresearch.org.
Check it out. A lot of great stuff there. You highlighted the poll I mentioned earlier on in this segment as well. You can find out more information about the poll there. And stay with us when we come back. Big event took place yesterday here in our area called Meet Your Muslim Neighbor event. The chairman and founder of that event, Mossab Bajaber, is going to join us right after this. I'd love to know your thoughts about what's happening here with gun violence in America. Should we be arming more and more people? Want to know your points of view? Very easy to share. Text us. We'll be right back.